Hi everybody, welcome back to Dobby Books. And today, which is Sunday the 10th of March, I am going to go over the books that I purchased yesterday at my weekly library sale. So, I always keep my eye out for Newberry Medal winners. I'm adding to my collection. This is my big long list of Newberry Medal winners, double-sided. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 7 pages long. The last page is single-sided. But this is the list of all the Newberry Medal winners since its beginning. So 1922. The oldest one I have is Blue Willow. I got that a couple of weeks ago and I posted a picture of it on Instagram. It was in hardbound. It was in very, very good condition. A little bit of yellowing. Whoever had it took very good care of it, and that's one of my highly treasured Newberry Medal winners. And this weekend I found 2 more. This one looks familiar, by Kate DiCamillo. I have several of her books. Flora and Ulysses. This looks like a fun read. It says, from the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, she is a natural-born cynic. He, the squirrel, is an unassuming squirrel. Together, Flora and Ulysses will conquer villains, defend the defendless, and protect the weak. Or something. It's winner of the Newbery Medal, and there's some cute person here saying, hi, Bagumba. It's a cute back cover. I love it. I think it's such an adorable book. So, this is one of the first, my Newbery Medal winners that I got this weekend. And the second one I got, I loved the cover. That's what caught my eye. Whittington. And this one was published in, let me find out for you. 2 seconds here, people. This one was published in 2005. So this one's a little bit later. And it says, Bernie keeps, I can't read with these glasses, people. Just give me a second. They're not good for reading. I paid money for those prescription glasses and they suck at reading, and guess what? These were $20. Target. Bernie keeps a barn full of animals the rest of the world has no use for. 2 retired sulky horses, an overly enthusiastic rooster, some banty hens, and a Muscovy duck with clipped wings called the lady. The lady is pretty much the law, and so when the tough-looking cat who calls himself Whittington shows up one day, it is to the lady that he makes an appeal to secure a place in the barn. That sounds like a great story. That doesn't it kind of sound like Charlotte's Web? That animal hierarchy and what have you. I guess that it kind of struck a chord with me on that, so that's why I liked it. And it's in pretty good condition when I compare it to Flora and Ulysses. Yeah, okay, so there's some yellowing, which is expected to happen, but the spine is strong, and that's really cool. So I've added these 2 to my Newberry Newbery Medal winners. I promise I haven't had a drink. I just had my morning coffee, so I guess it hasn't kicked in. But these I'm adding to that, checking off my list. And then I got another book in the same category, but it's not a medal winner. And this is called Halinka by Miriam Presler, and it was originally in German. And it was published or translated into English in 1998 by Elizabeth Crawford. And the story is, Halinka lives in a home for troubled girls in Germany just after World War II. Sent there by the court because her mother is too emotionally damaged to care for her, Halinka is careful to hide every one of her thoughts, her feelings, even her hopes. Yet in a secret room, in a secret book, she records her Aunt Lou's sayings. They are wonderful to think about. Can they even be true? And there's more of an intro there where she gets to meet another girl and finally thinks or hopes she's found a friendship where she can reveal herself too. So that's going to be interesting to find out on that one. Now let's look at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 other books I found. Let's see if I can read Read them with these glasses. This one, we know this one, by Natalie Babbitt, Tuck Everlasting. This is a beautiful story. This is a hardbound copy. It's in very good condition. It really is. The spine is very strong. Maybe it was read once, if at all. It even has a slight little cracking sound when you open it. So that tells me it was well taken care of, but I don't know if it was ever read. But I'm glad I found it. So there's that one. And then one more book I found in the same readers category, Touching Spirit Bear by Ben Michelson. I would have thought this would have been a Newberry Medal winner. But the story on this one goes, and I never read the intro on Tuck Everlasting. I'll do that in a minute. The story on this one is, at 15, Cole Matthews has been fighting and stealing for years. The punishment for smashing Peter Driscoll's skull into the sidewalk, his most recent crime, is harsh. This time, Cole will have to choose between prison and Native American circle justice. He will live either behind bars or in isolation for 1 year. Cole chooses circle justice, but in the first days of his banishment to a remote Alaskan island, he is mauled by a mysterious white bear and nearly dies. Will the attack of the spirit bear destroy Cole's life or save his soul? I like that. That's going to be a cool book. Tuck Everlasting. Let me just briefly read the intro on that. A kidnapping, a murder, a jailbreak. If this were Winnie Foster's story only, it would be like any other great adventure. You would come to an end with all resolved, and that would be that. But this is also the story of the Tuck family, and therefore, though it has a beginning and a middle, it can never end. The two stories cross near the village of Tree Gap during a handful of hot August days in the 1880s, days which are a curious mixture of violence and love, of anguish and tranquility. And when those days are over, young Winnie is left to make a fundamental choice. What she chooses at last is not what she might have chosen at first. For when you have known the Tucks as Winnie has, however briefly, you can never be quite the same again. It's a nice intro. Okay, we have Tuck Everlasting, we have Touching Spirit Bear, and then I found two history books. And the reason I had my eye on these is because not this side, or this side, but over to the right here, which to your left, I guess, yeah, is where I have my books, history books, organized in chronological order. And so I have an entire shelf of ancient Greek history, and the next shelf is Roman history, and it phases into end of Rome, early ancient church history, and then we're moving into the Middle Ages. After that, we have early Renaissance. And then from there, we start moving slowly into modern. Those shelves are pretty much filled. And I've been focusing, even though these two books that I have are in the late Renaissance era, because they are the 17th century, I really don't have a whole lot on American history. I've got a lot of European history, but I'm noticing that I really need to start collecting here and there some American history, hopefully some primary sources, which I prefer, but also, other standards. And I came upon these two books that I've heard of, somewhere in time. I heard about them, a little bit about them, and I'm aware of some reviews about them, but it's not something that I was really focusing on at the time, so I can't really give you a whole lot of details, but they're known. Okay, so the first one I found is by James Truslow Adams. This is a Pulitzer Prize-winning book for history. It's called The Founding of New England, and this is an older book. Atlantic Little Brown, that's the publisher. And this is the Atlantic Monthly Press book. By the way, I love the Atlantic Monthly. I've always found some good recommendations on their website or from their articles. This has an original copyright. Okay, here we go, bad glasses. cheap glasses. Copyright 1921, then 1949. So this is an older book. I think it's good to read a history book from, sometime in the earlier 20th century, then later 20th century. We're seeing a lot of newer ones coming out now in our 21st century. And I think it's good to get a perspective from other times in history, other periods in history. And this, I think, is a very good source. It covers 17th century New England, the origins of the colonial settlements, their organization and economic development. It explores the genesis of the religious and political ideas which evolved and the formulation of attitudes on both sides of the Atlantic regarding the relationship of the colonies to the mother country. So this, I think, is going to be a good source for me to read about that particular time in history. Pre-United States, they were just colonists then. I think it's perfect timing on this. And look, it's in great condition for something. Let's say this was published in 1949. Not bad. Not bad. I love the spine is strong. There's no writing in it at all. There aren't any pages. How they bend the pages. Oh, that's just a horrendous thing to do to a book. And it looks like it may or may not have been read. Just by, going through the pages like this. Yeah, it's an older book. But if someone had read it, at least part of it, then that part of the book tends to be, it has to, be more open to that particular section of the book. And this really had no favored area in the pages. So I'm going to say maybe it was read. Maybe, but maybe not. All right, last one is in relation to this first one. It's called The Everyday Life in Massachusetts Colony by George Francis Dow, published by Dover. Another older book. This one, wow, the person who used to own it still has their little address label in there. Remember address labels, people? That was with snail mail. That's when you didn't have to write your own return address. The little stamp there would do, the address label would do that. This was originally published in 1988. It's a republication of the work originally published by the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities, Boston, Massachusetts, in 1935. That's the year my father was born. So 80-some years ago. 89 years ago, roughly. And the author, George Francis Dow, this was published in 1935, and he passed away in 1936. And this is going to be cool. So this is a picture of some phases of life in the early days of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Lightly sketched, as much of the detail has become dim or has disappeared with the passage of years, it never having been placed on record even among the traditions. Few realize how modern are the furnishings and comforts of our present-day houses and how different was the home life of our ancestors. Chairs were unknown in ordinary English households until a generation or so before the sailing of the Mayflower. This is a collection of source materials somewhat digested, rather than a comprehensive, well-balanced narrative of daily life in the colony, an impossible task at this late day. Moreover, the exact limitations of the colonial period have not been observed too closely, as it has seemed desirable to include some material from newspapers and other later sources. This is going to be good. So, another, I'd say, primary source, a collection of primary sources that would talk about life on the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So I'm glad these two will go well together for my early American history study. All right, so that's it, people. So for this entire stack, how many were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, $7. 7 books, $7. I did great. I love my library sales. You just have to really do a lot of, they have the big warehouse area. Small, it's very small, but it has a lot of the books not as well organized and not all of them are priced. And then they have the main area with the lovely shelves looking more like a library. I like to hit the back warehouse first. It has the most books, but you have to do a lot of bending and stooping, moving some books around. Not everybody wants to do that, but you can really find some gems there. You know, and I've gotten really good at grabbing a stack, and you get a stack like this, and you move it back, and you see what's behind it, and then you put the stack back. I'm getting that down pretty much. I just don't like to go through the crates and the boxes that are stacked, let's say at the ends of some of the aisles. I kind of look through the top a little bit, but lifting and moving boxes, I'm not going to do that. But it really has, gosh. And there's a bigger library, maybe some less than 10 minutes away, and they have, you know, plenty of books, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they have it on the scale that the one that I go to every week. I just love going there. And after that, I go to Starbucks, have myself a decaf Americano and a sandwich or something. It's a great Saturday. So everybody, thank you very much. I'm glad you shared this time with me. Have a enjoyable rest of your week. All right. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye-bye.